Beloved chosen one. Something stirred powerfully in your spirit the moment you spotted that radiant 7 shining on the thumbnail. That's exactly what halted your scroll and drew you to click, didn't it? In scripture and Christian life, 777 symbolizes God's perfect completeness, ultimate triumph over darkness, and the absolute fulfillment of His covenant promises manifesting in your destiny. This isn't mere coincidence. It's a celestial signal that the quiet steps of faith you took today have ascended straight to the throne room. You were drawn here by heaven's whisper because you chose righteousness in the unseen moments, in the ordinary hours, in the choices that demanded surrender. Could it be that your heart already senses this is the day God is smiling upon your obedience, ready to release waves of joy and breakthrough? Your persistence in doing good has not gone unnoticed. The Father's delight is turning into tangible manifestation right now. Stay locked in until the final word for every moment is infused with the power to transform your reality. Hit like, subscribe to connect with chosen ones across the globe, and drop 777 in the comments along with your city or country so we can unite in prayer for your immediate elevation. Let's step boldly into the smile of God and claim the rewards He's prepared for your faithful heart today. You are seeing through the veil. Heaven gave you sight to recognize snakes hiding in smiles. Yet every time you tried to explain it, they said you were dramatic, paranoid, or too spiritual. You cried because no one understood the spiritual storms you endured in silence. But God did. He saw every unseen battle. He counted every tear that hit your pillow. You thought you were breaking, but you were being built. Every season of misunderstanding shaped your spirit into something powerful, while others mocked heaven was molding. The rejection you faced became the stage for revelation. You had to be isolated to be identified. You see, those who carry divine assignments rarely fit into normal environments. You are not meant to blend in because your calling disrupts comfort zones. You carry a fire that unsettles the lukewarm. That's why people reacted strangely to you. They weren't responding to your personality. They were reacting to your presence. The Spirit of God within you irritates the darkness in them. Every plot against you was not random. It was reactionary. The enemy saw your potential long before you did. That's why certain people were sent into your life not to love you, but to drain you. Some of them pretended to be loyal while secretly rejoicing at your pain. But now heaven is dealing with every false heart. The same ones who used your kindness will face the justice of the one who anointed you. Don't mistake your sensitivity for weakness. That tenderness in your heart is evidence of divine empathy. You feel deeply because you carry heaven's heart. God trusted you with sensitivity so you could discern danger before it manifests. You have been navigating the complexities of life equipped with a divine radar that allows you to perceive sense and deeply feel the unseen spiritual realities all around you, even when others remain completely oblivious to them. This extraordinary gift has often left you utterly exhausted, drained from the constant awareness and the emotional toll it takes on your mind, body, and spirit. Yes, that much is undeniably true. But what you may not have fully grasped until now is that this very sensitivity means you have been operating under a profound level of prophetic awareness, tuned into the whispers and warnings of the Holy Spirit in ways that most people never experience. You were never crazy or irrational for decisively walking away from relationships, friendships, or situations with people who instinctively felt wrong in your spirit, sending up red flags that you couldn't ignore despite outward appearances. You were not emotionally unstable or overly dramatic for shedding tears in moments of deep isolation when no one around you could possibly understand the weight of what you were carrying or the battles raging in the invisible realm. You were not weak or foolish for choosing to extend forgiveness to those who hurt you deeply, even when they offered no apology, no remorse, and no acknowledgement of the pain they inflicted. And you were certainly not wrong or misguided for remaining silent in seasons where you could have easily defended yourself with sharp words, justifications, or counterattacks that might have felt satisfying in the moment. In every one of those challenging instances, you were actually obeying the gentle yet firm leading of heaven, even when that obedience came at a great personal cost and caused your heart to ache with unanswered questions. You were unknowingly living out prophecy in your daily choices, aligning your steps with God's greater narrative, without even realizing the full significance of it all. And now, after what has felt like an eternity of misunderstanding and opposition, the appointed time has finally arrived for God Himself to dramatically demonstrate to the watching world that you were never the root of the problem, never the source of chaos or confusion as others accused. On the contrary, you were always the living proof of His faithfulness, the embodiment of His protective hand guiding you through the storm. The very same mouths that once mocked you, labeling you as delusional, overly sensitive, or out of touch with reality, will soon be compelled to admit in humility and awe. We see it clearly now. We were blind to what God was doing all along. This divine reversal of fortunes and perspectives will resonate far louder and carry infinitely more weight than any elaborate explanations or defenses you could have ever mustered on your own. You no longer need to expend your energy trying to justify your actions, your feelings, or your decisions to skeptics who refuse to listen. Vindication is the native language of heaven, spoken fluently by a God who rights every wrong in His perfect timing. Chosen one, the Lord wants you to internalize this truth deep in your soul. He never missed even a single moment of your struggle, never turned a blind eye to the injustices piled upon you. Every act of betrayal that pierced your trust, every malicious lie that spread like wildfire to tarnish your reputation, every painful instance where you were deliberately left out of circles, overlooked for opportunities, or roughly pushed aside as if you didn't matter. He witnessed it all with eyes that see everything and a heart that grieves with you. And in those dark nights, while you were silently crying out to Him in your bedroom, tears soaking your pillow as you wrestled with doubt and despair, He was meticulously recording every detail in His book of remembrance, ensuring that nothing would be forgotten or overlooked. While you felt yourself breaking under the pressure, splintering into pieces that seemed impossible to reassemble, He was sovereignly building something beautiful and unbreakable from the fragments, constructing a testimony of resilience that would inspire generations. And while your detractors laughed in scorn, dismissing your pain as weakness or your faith as fanaticism, He was already penning the next triumphant chapter of your story, one where your name will be lifted high, honored publicly, and celebrated as a beacon of God's redemptive power. The Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17 affirms, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." The relentless pain that stretched on for what seemed like an endless eternity, threatening to define your entire existence, was never orchestrated by a cruel God intent on destroying you or breaking your spirit beyond repair. No, its true purpose was far more glorious. It was meticulously designed to adorn you, to decorate your life with an eternal weight of glory that transcends earthly measures and human comprehension. Your tears, far from being meaningless expressions of sorrow, were never wasted or poured out in vain. They were precious seeds deliberately planted by your loving Father into the fertile soil of your God-ordained destiny, seeds that would one day sprout into a harvest of joy, influence, and supernatural breakthrough. Every scar from the wounds you still carry, whether visible on your body or etched invisibly into your emotions and memories, has been divinely transformed into a wide-open doorway, a sacred portal through which God's unlimited power, healing anointing, and miraculous provision can now flow freely and abundantly into your life and out to touch the lives of others in desperate need. This prophetic sensitivity that once felt like a burdensome curse, isolating you from those who couldn't relate, is now being revealed as one of your greatest strengths, a finely tuned instrument in the hands of the master composer. The exhaustion you endured wasn't a sign of deficiency, but evidence of your deep connection to the spiritual realm, where battles are won or lost long before they manifest in the physical world. Those moments of walking away weren't acts of cowardice, but courageous obedience to divine warnings that protected you from greater harm down the road. Your tears weren't indicators of fragility, but holy offerings poured out at the altar of surrender, watering the ground for future miracles. Forgiving the unrepentant wasn't naivety. It was Christ-like love that positioned you for promotion in the kingdom. And choosing silence over self-defense wasn't passivity, it was wisdom that preserved your peace and allowed God to become your ultimate defender, the one who pleads your case before the throne of grace. As this season of vindication unfolds in ways you never imagined, prepare to see relationships restored, reputations redeemed, and opportunities multiplied beyond your wildest dreams. The tables are turning, chosen one, not by your striving, but by heaven's decree. What was spoken against you in secret will be overturned in public display. The isolation you knew will give way to divine connections with people who recognize and celebrate the gold God has refined in you. Your story, once whispered in pain, will soon be shouted from rooftops as a testament to God's justice and mercy intertwined. Remember, the prophetic awareness that guided you through the valley is the same gift that will lead you into the palace. The sensitivity that brought tears will now bring strategies from heaven. The heart that forgave will now receive overflowing blessings. And the silence you maintained will be broken by a voice of authority that commands respect without demanding it. God is not just reversing your circumstances, He is revealing your calling. The proof was never about convincing others. It was about conforming you to the image of Christ, the ultimate chosen one who was misunderstood, rejected, and ultimately vindicated. Your wounds, once sources of shame, are becoming wells of wisdom from which others will draw living water. The lies that once bound you are being replaced by truths that set captives free, starting with your own liberation. Every no you hear is transforming into a greater yes from the Father. The exhaustion is lifting, replaced by a supernatural strength that doesn't depend on circumstances. You are emerging not as a victim of your past, but as a victor for the future, not as one scarred by fire, but as one shining through it. Chosen one, lift your eyes to the horizon where dawn is breaking after the longest night. The recording angel has closed the book on your suffering and opened a new volume titled Glory Unveiled. The building process is complete. Now comes the unveiling. The chapter being written isn't just about honor. It's about harvest, where every seed of sorrow produces 100-fold return. Heaven's language of vindication isn't spoken in whispers, but in thunderclaps of breakthrough that shake foundations and shift atmospheres. As you step into this new reality, carry the awareness that your prophetic journey was preparation for purpose. The radar that detected danger now discerns destiny. The heart that felt deeply now heals profoundly. The obedience that cost everything now commands abundance. And the God who saw every injustice is the same God who orchestrates every restoration. The world that once called you crazy will soon call you commissioned. The voices that are mocked will become messengers of your mandate. This is your divine reversal. Chosen one, not a momentary reprieve, but an eternal weight of glory. The pain decorated you with purpose. The tears irrigated your inheritance. The wounds became windows to wonder. And now the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead quickens your mortal body with resurrection power. Walk in it, speak from it, live through it. The proof was always in the process, and the process has produced a masterpiece. The Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17 mentions that what felt like destruction was actually decoration. What seemed like death was actually destiny, and what appeared to be defeat was actually divine decoration for an eternal display. Your story isn't ending in vindication, it's beginning in victory. The radar that once warned of storms now guides you to still waters. The awareness that exhausted you now energizes you with heavenly intelligence. And the chosen one who walked through fire now walks on water, not because the circumstances changed, but because the Christ in you commands them to be still. Heaven's verdict is final. Not guilty, not broken, not forgotten, but chosen, cherished, and crowned with loving kindness and tender mercies. The recording is complete. The building is finished. The writing is revealed. And your name, once spoken in scorn, is now engraved on palms that bear scars for your freedom. This is vindication. This is victory. This is the chosen one's inheritance, eternal glory that far outweighs every trouble, every tear, every trial. The proof stands resurrected, and his name is written in your story. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. So lift your head, beloved. The shame you endured is about to be reversed. The very people who laughed will watch you rise. They will know that the hand of God was upon you the entire time. You were never crazy. You were chosen. You were never broken. You were being built for glory. The pain was a prophecy in disguise. And heaven is now revealing its meaning. The cup of injustice is full. Chosen one, heaven has measured every deceit, every word spoken in secret rooms, every attempt to humiliate you, and the scales can no longer remain unbalanced. You have endured patiently, thinking the silence meant God was ignoring the wrongs done to you. But heaven was simply collecting evidence. There comes a time when divine mercy must give way to divine justice, and that time has arrived. You were not crazy to feel that something had shifted. You were sensing heaven's verdict being sealed. The Spirit has been whispering in the winds around you enough. The season of silent endurance is giving way to the season of divine exposure. Those who prospered through manipulation, those who smiled while stabbing with their words, those who used your goodness as their gain, their season of borrowed peace ends now. God has been watching how they moved while you stayed still. He saw how they spoke about you when you weren't present. You may have stayed quiet, but heaven never forgot. Every unspoken prayer, every restrained tear, every moment you resisted revenge, they were all witnesses stored in the cup now overflowing with divine wrath. And that wrath is not chaos. It is a correction. You see, the justice of God doesn't simply punish evil. It restores balance. It makes wrong things right. It reminds creation that righteousness still rules. You are about to witness the strange symmetry of divine law. The liars get caught in their own words, the manipulators get trapped in their own web, and the proud fall by their own deception. They thought they could build empires on falsehoods. They used your silence as their foundation, but heaven has decreed no more. When the Lord says it's time, even the stones begin to testify. Truth rises like light after a long night, and those who hid behind shadows can no longer stand. You chosen one are standing on the threshold of vindication, not by your hand, but by His. Do not gloat when justice arrives. Watch with reverence, for this is holy ground, the moment where heaven's courtroom meets earth's stage. You will see reversals so swift that your human mind will struggle to comprehend. Promotions where there were demotions, favors where there was slander, invitations where there were rejections. Every wound becomes a window through which God displays His fairness. The book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 21 mentions, "Be sure of this. The wicked will not go unpunished, but those who are righteous will go free." And that is the law written into the bones of creation. No evil escapes forever. The wicked may flourish for a season, but their roots grow in sand. The righteous, even when buried, rise like seeds in due time. You were buried, chosen one, but not for death, for resurrection. What looked like silence was actually soil. What looked like endings was preparation for sprouting. So when the shaking begins, don't be afraid. When you hear of strange collapses around you, remember heaven is clearing space. Old thrones must fall for new ones to rise. You are not witnessing chaos. You are witnessing divine rearrangement. The table is turning. Your name is already inscribed on the seat that once belonged to your enemy. You will soon walk into rooms where your absence used to be celebrated. You will be honored by those who once ignored you. You will speak, and those who silenced you will have no words. This is not a coincidence. It is compensation. The same fire that burns the wicked will illuminate the righteous. The cup has tipped. The cries of the oppressed have reached the threshold of heaven. Because you chose humility instead of revenge, God has chosen to fight for you publicly. Now pause for a moment, chosen ones. Let this word settle deep into your spirit. You don't have to make anyone believe you. You don't have to prove your worth. Your job is to remain still while God performs divine justice. Your stillness is not weakness. It's spiritual warfare. Heaven moves most powerfully when you stop striving. If this message resonates within you, if you can feel the weight of heaven's balance shifting in your favor, Then write this in the comments. Justice falls. Write it as a declaration, not as anger, but as alignment. You are not calling for revenge. You are affirming heaven's order. Every time you speak those two words, you are echoing the decree of the Almighty. What was taken will be restored, what was hidden will be revealed, and what was wrong will be made right. Justice falls chosen one, and when it does, it will not miss its mark. Heaven's court is in session. Chosen one, the gavel has already struck in the unseen realm. The verdict is sealed. You may not see the full picture yet, but the atmosphere around you bears witness to divine order unfolding. There is a weight in the air, an invisible authority announcing that heaven has spoken. What was debated in secret councils is now finalized in eternity. You need to understand this. When God rises as your defender, no human voice can overrule his decree. He has seen the entire case, every false accusation, every betrayal, every manipulation meant to bury your destiny. And now he has rendered judgment. The sentence is not yours to deliver. It is his. For the same hands that shape the universe now move on your behalf. In the courts of heaven, time doesn't function as it does on earth. The moment God says now, all waiting collapses, delays evaporate. What you thought would take years manifests suddenly. The hand that once held you back becomes the platform that lifts you higher. This is divine justice in motion, not loud, but unstoppable. Think back on how many times you tried to explain yourself. You rehearsed conversations in your mind, wishing people could see your heart. You tried to defend your character, but no matter what you said, the misunderstanding deepened. That's because your defense was never meant to come from your own mouth. Heaven had already assigned its advocate. The Holy One himself would speak for you when the time was right. And now that time has come. Every tongue that rises in judgment will confess its error. Every shadow that follows your name will dissolve under divine light. The same people who doubted you will watch as God's fingerprints appear over your life like evidence in a divine courtroom. This is the moment when truth becomes undeniable. Heaven's judgment is perfect because it exposes without hatred. It corrects without cruelty and redeems without favoritism. You are not witnessing revenge. You are witnessing righteousness. God's justice doesn't just punish wrongdoers, it restores the integrity of his order. What was stolen will return multiplied. What was silenced will now sing. What was buried will break through the soil as undeniable proof of divine vindication. Beloved, you have stood before earthly judges, opinions, gossip, slander, but none of them hold authority anymore. Heaven's decree overrides them all. When the Lord speaks your name, the accusations lose power. You are no longer on trial. You are being publicly acquitted by divine decree. The weight you have carried is lifting even now because heaven has closed your case. The courtroom scene is vivid in the spirit. Angels as witnesses, scrolls of remembrance opened, and the voice of God declaring, "This one is mine." When God calls you his, no enemy can claim jurisdiction. Every curse, every lie, every word, curse spoken in jealousy, they have been overruled. Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 36 affirms, "The Lord will vindicate his people and have compassion on his servants when he sees their strength is gone, and no one is left slave or free." Oh, that is the verdict. Chosen one, vindication. God saw when your strength was gone. He saw when you stopped fighting because you had no more words. He saw the exhaustion that came from always having to prove your heart. And in that exact moment, compassion moved him to act. Vindication is not just a reversal of accusation. It is a revelation of truth. The things hidden in darkness are being brought into light, not to humiliate, but to clarify. Those who conspired will realize too late that they were opposing the hand of God. You never needed to fight. Your silence was your submission to divine strategy. Now the Spirit of God is clearing your name in ways beyond your reach. Conversations are being redirected. Minds are being changed. Hearts that once doubted are being stirred with conviction where your reputation was tarnished. God himself is polishing it with glory. You are not stepping back into old circles. You are being positioned on new platforms where truth cannot be silenced. This is what happens when the judge of heaven rules in your favor. The accuser loses access. The gossip loses power. And you've chosen one step out of the shadows into the light of divine vindication. Do not waste this moment seeking apology or approval. Let the evidence of your peace be your proof. Those who are meant to see will see. Those who are meant to understand will be awakened by conviction. You are no longer in the place of defense. You are in the place of divine declaration. Heaven has spoken. The verdict is final. You are vindicated. When mercy steps back, the air changes. You can feel it like the moment before rain breaks the sky open, or when the tide pulls away from the shore before a mighty wave returns. Heaven is moving differently now, chosen one for years. Mercy pleaded on behalf of your enemies. It whispered, "Give them time." It shielded them from the consequences of their own actions, but every mercy has a boundary. And when that line is crossed, judgment begins its walk. You must understand this not with bitterness, but with awe. The wrath of God is not like human anger. It is not impulsive or cruel. It is the righteous flame that restores what was profaned. It is the cleansing fire that burns away mockery and pride. When mercy steps back, it is not because love has disappeared. It's because love has fulfilled its warning. Love gives time, but not forever. Those who played with grace thought they could deceive eternity. They mocked what was sacred, took advantage of your kindness, and believed that silence meant approval. But now, the wind of heaven has shifted. The same God who whispered, "Turn back now," declares enough. The mercy that once covered them now stands aside. Justice flows like a river breaking through a dam. Do not fear this shift, chosen one. You are not the target. You are the witness. You are standing in the dawn of divine realignment. Imagine a farmer who has long tolerated weeds among the wheat. Eventually, harvest time comes and the separation must happen. What is fruitful is gathered. What is false is burned away. You are part of what is being gathered, purified, and prepared. There is a deep sadness that comes when mercy steps back. Even heaven mourns for those who harden their hearts, despite countless chances. Yet the holiness of God demands completion. He cannot allow corruption to keep poisoning what He has chosen to bless. The system of heaven requires justice. That justice is now unfolding before your eyes. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6 warns, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also reject you as my priests. Because you have ignored the law of your God, I also will ignore your children." This scripture burns with truth. Those who once knew the light but chose ignorance, who mocked wisdom, who twisted God's words for gain, they have written their own downfall. And yet, even in this, God remains consistent. His wrath is an invitation to repentance for anyone humble enough to hear it. But for those who refuse, the season of protection closes like a door that no man can reopen. Beloved, think of mercy as the sunlight at dawn. It shines long enough to give every flower a chance to bloom. But when evening comes, the light withdraws not in cruelty, but in rhythm. The withdrawal is necessary so that the next day may be born. That is what's happening around you now. God is shifting the light, moving seasons, closing one day and preparing the next. You will begin to notice patterns changing. Where once your enemies seemed untouchable, you will see instability. Where once they were celebrated, silence will follow. The applause will fade. The influence will crack. It's not your doing. It's the natural consequence of heaven rebalancing what was tilted. So walk softly in this season. Don't celebrate anyone's downfall. Instead, lift your hands in quiet reverence. Whisper, "God, let your will be done." You are not the avenger. You are the testimony. Let your peace be your praise. Let your silence be your sermon. You don't have to shout, because heaven will announce what you lived through in whispers of truth and winds of change. And as you walk through this shift, remember you are not just a spectator. You are a vessel through which others will understand divine justice. People will look at your life and see the difference between those who honor God and those who mock Him. You are being positioned as living evidence of what happens when one stays faithful through fire. Beloved, if this word reaches the hidden corners of your spirit, if it feels like something within you sighs, "Yes, that's me," then don't let it pass like another fleeting sound. Help others hear it too. Sometimes your simple act of sharing truth is the spark that reignites someone's dying hope. So share this message not as content, but as light. Like passing a candle in the dark, each person who receives it adds another flame to the circle. Like the ripple that begins with one drop in still water, your simple click can send waves across hearts you may never meet. And if this voice has touched you tonight, subscribe not out of habit, but out of hunger. Stay close to the flow of words that remind your soul of its divine assignment. For this is not just a message, it is a mirror of heaven's current. And you choseners are standing in its tide. The shaking has begun, chosen one. You feel it in the unseen before it ever touches the earth, the tremor that moves through your spirit, the subtle collapse of old things that once felt permanent. This is no ordinary disruption. It is divine reordering. What was built on deception cannot stand under truth. What was raised in pride cannot remain. When humility walks in the shaking is heaven's way of removing what no longer belongs. Do not be afraid of the trembling ground. The earthquake you sense is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to free you. The walls that confine you are cracking because your next season cannot fit within your old boundaries. Every system, every connection, every false foundation is being tested by divine pressure. Only what is rooted in truth will remain standing when the dust clears. You may see relationships breaking without warning. You may lose opportunities that once seemed essential. You may feel as if the ground beneath your feet is uncertain, but look deeper. This is not punishment. It is pruning. God is shaking off what cannot go where you are going. There are people patterns and paths that have expired, yet you still try to carry them. But the Lord loves you too much to let you build your destiny on unstable soil. You must understand before divine promotion comes divine shaking. Heaven never elevates what has not been tested. The wind that shakes the tree also proves which roots are alive. And you chosen one are about to discover that the storms meant to break you were actually sent to reveal your endurance. Haggai chapter 2 verse 6 proclaims, "This is what the Lord Almighty says. In a little while I will once more shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land." Even creation obeys this pattern. Mountains form through pressure. Diamonds emerge through crushing. Gold is purified in fire. Nothing truly valuable is born in comfort. You are not being ruined. You are being refined. Every tremor is confirmation that heaven is active in your story. When your surroundings start to shift, resist the urge to cling to what's collapsing. Some doors close not because you failed, but because you finished. Some friendships fade not because you did something wrong, but because your frequency changed. You can't expect those who operate in fear to understand a faith that shakes the world. So when the ground rumbles and you feel the instability, don't cry for what's falling. Thank God for what's staying. The shaking reveals who and what truly belongs in your next chapter. Those who remain faithful through your trembling season are aligned with your destiny. Those who scatter were never meant to stand beside you at the mountaintop. This is why the shaking is sacred. It is both mercy and separation. It doesn't come to punish, but to protect. The Lord allows instability so that when stability returns, you'll know it's divine, not temporary. Chosen one, your spirit already knows this. Somewhere deep inside, you can feel that everything is being rearranged to serve a higher purpose. The Spirit is shifting your atmosphere, not to confuse you, but to clarify your path. Old habits will no longer feel comfortable. Old conversations will lose their taste. Your heart will crave stillness, prayer, and truth. That craving is the sign that your roots are sinking deeper into God. The shaking is heaven's mercy disguised as movement. Because if things had stayed still, you would have settled where you didn't belong. You would have built monuments to moments that were meant to be temporary. So God shook the ground not to destroy you, but to wake you. Look closely and you'll notice it's not just your life shaking. The world is trembling too. Systems that seemed unbreakable are falling. Voices that once ruled are fading. God is not just shifting you. He's shaking nations, exposing hearts, and realigning destinies. You are part of something global, something divine, something irreversible. So take a deep breath, chosen ones. Don't resist the shaking flow with it. Anchor yourself in prayer and let go of control. The same God who allowed the shaking will ensure you remain unshaken. And if your spirit feels this word vibrating within you, if you can sense that this shaking is confirmation of what God has already whispered, then comment 777 below. Write it not as a number, but as a declaration that new beginnings are birthing through this shaking. The 888 is the sign of resurrection and renewal, of cycles ending and eternity breaking in. As you type it, let it be your act of faith. You trust the shaking, you embrace the rebuilding, you believe God is not removing you, but refining you, because when the trembling ends, you'll see it clearly. Everything that fell was never meant to stand. Your name has been through the fire, chosen one. You know what it feels like to be misunderstood, misrepresented, and mistreated. You have walked through flames that were meant to consume you, and yet here you stand, scarred perhaps, but shining. The season of trial was never about your destruction. It was about your distinction. Fire is the divine test that reveals authenticity. Gold does not fear the furnace because it knows the fire only burns away what does not belong. What they meant for humiliation, God meant for purification. Every false accusation, every bitter word, every season of shame, it all became fuel for refinement. The Lord does not waste fire. The heat you endured forged endurance in your spirit. The rejection that broke your heart became the training ground for resilience. When people saw ashes, heaven saw an altar. The flame that surrounded you was never a punishment. It was a sanctification process, turning ordinary clay into vessels of glory. When the fire first began, you thought you were losing everything. It felt like your life was unraveling, your dreams evaporating into smoke. But you didn't realize God was burning the rope that tied you to lesser things. He was setting you free from counterfeit attachments, false expectations, and the opinions of those who never saw your worth. The same blaze that threatened to end you became the light that revealed who you really are. You have been asking, why did it have to hurt so much? And heaven answers, because comfort cannot create purity. Growth requires heat. Diamonds form under pressure, not peace. Olive oil only flows when the fruit is crushed. You cannot carry divine authority without divine fire. Every chosen vessel must pass through it. For it is in the flames that obedience becomes unshakable. Now the smoke is lifting. You can finally see what survived the real you. The voices that once defined you no longer have power. The fear that used to paralyze you no longer holds ground. You have learned that even when everything burns, the presence of God remains constant. The same fire that consumed your plans preserved your purpose. The story of your trial mirrors that of the 3 Hebrew boys who stood unafraid in the furnace. The flames licked around them, but only their chains were burned. What bound them could not survive the heat of divine presence. That is what has happened to you, chosen one. You were not destroyed because there was another walking with you in the fire. You thought you were alone. But if you look closely, you'll realize he never left. Psalm 66 verse 10 testifies, "For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver." That verse carries the weight of your testimony. You have been refined, not punished. The difference is divine intention. Punishment seeks to destroy. Refinement seeks to purify. God's purpose was never your pain. It was your preparation. You are being shaped for something that requires endurance, humility, and purity of heart. The fire was heaven's classroom. Every tear was tuition paid for wisdom you now carry. People will soon look at you and wonder how you survived. They will see strength, but not know the sorrow behind it. They will feel peace from you, but not recognize the storms that forged it. That is the beauty of divine fire. It erases the evidence of pain and replaces it with radiance. What once made you cry will one day make you glow. So walk unashamed through the ashes. The smell of smoke will not linger on you. The season of accusation is over. The era of revelation begins. God will use the very scars they mock to heal others. The fire branded you with authority, spiritual credibility that cannot be faked or fabricated. You can now speak from experience, not theory. You carry the fragrance of one who has been through something sacred. Every true chosen one must pass through the furnace before wearing the crown. You are not behind schedule. You are right on time. The heat was harsh, but it was holy. It burned away what was temporary, so that only what was eternal could remain. Now lift your head, beloved. The worst is over. What stands after the fire is pure, radiant, unstoppable. You will notice that your discernment is sharper, your compassion deeper, your peace unshakable. You have been refined into a vessel that no storm can shatter. You are proof that fire does not destroy the chosen. It defines them. So step forward. Carry the glow of survival. Let the warmth of your story light the path for others still trembling in their own flames. For your fire was never final. It was formative. The gold has emerged, and heaven calls your name gleaming and new, forged in holy heat and sealed in divine purpose. The exposure season has come, chosen one. It is the hour when masks fall, when hidden things are drawn into the light, when truth walks uninvited into rooms where deceit once ruled. Heaven has turned on the lamp. Everything that hid in the shadows must now be seen for what it truly is. This is not chaos. It is clear. God is not trying to embarrass. He is revealing what was poisoning his plans for a long time. You prayed for answers. You asked God, why do I feel unrest? Why do some people around me feel wrong though at peace? Now you are beginning to see. The Spirit is uncovering hearts, exposing motives, and lifting the veils that once blinded you. The people you thought were with you were merely near you. Proximity fooled you into thinking it was loyalty, but heaven knows the difference. Exposure is never comfortable. It can be shocking when light reveals what darkness concealed, but it is necessary. You cannot build destiny upon illusion. God cannot bless what is fake. And so, before he elevates, he exposes. Before he promotes, he purges. You might feel betrayed all over again, but understand he is not punishing you. He is protecting your purpose. Everything built on falsehood is collapsing. The voices that lie are losing volume. The schemes that once flourished are unraveling in plain sight. You no longer have to guess who is for you. Truth is revealing it. What was whispered in secret will now echo in daylight. It is the fulfillment of divine law. Light cannot be hidden forever, as Luke chapter 8 verse 17 attests. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Those words vibrate like thunder across the unseen world. God himself has declared that concealment has an expiration date. Every hidden agenda, every double tongue, every smiling betrayal, its time has come. The Spirit of truth is sweeping through your surroundings, peeling away the disguises people have worn. Chosen ones, you must prepare your heart for what you'll see. When truth comes, it cuts deep. Some faces you trusted will no longer look the same in the light. Some voices that once comforted you will now sound hollow. It will hurt, but it will also heal. Because once you see the truth, you cannot be deceived again, and that clarity is part of your crown. Understand this. Exposure is mercy in disguise. It may feel like loss, but it is liberation. God is freeing you from entanglements you didn't even know were draining you. Some relationships were rooted in envy, not love. Some partnerships were powered by self-interest, not purpose. Some alliances existed only to monitor, not to support. Heaven saw it all, and now heaven is cutting the cords. In this season, revelation will come not only through dreams and whispers, but through actions. Watch behavior, not words. The Spirit of God will show you who operates from genuine love, who operates from a hidden agenda. You will not need to confront them. Truth itself will do the work. There is a sacred stillness in allowing God to unveil what you could never have uncovered alone. And even as He exposes others, He may also shine His light gently upon you, not to shame you, but to refine you. Sometimes exposure is not only outward, it's inward. The same light that reveals others' intentions will reveal your own patterns that need cleansing. God exposes to heal, never to humiliate. You will begin to feel lighter as deception departs. Environments that once drained you will lose power. Conversations that once confused you will become irrelevant. Truth has a cleansing effect. It detoxifies the soul, it restores spiritual clarity, and when the noise fades, peace will settle where anxiety once ruled. Do not mourn those being removed. Do not chase after what God exposes. When He reveals a person's heart, believe Him the first time. To cling to what He exposes is to choose blindness over revelation. Your task is to bless, release, and move forward. What is meant for you will remain. What was pretending will depart. And as truth takes its throne, your vision will sharpen. You'll begin to see your path clearly again. The confusion that once clouded your decisions will lift like morning mist. God is re-establishing your discernment, stronger, cleaner, unpolluted by deception. This is the reward of those who endured long nights of confusion while remaining faithful. Exposure is not the end of something. It is the cleansing before resurrection. You are standing in the sacred unveiling of destiny. Let truth do its work. Let light reveal. For when all masks fall, what remains is real, and what is real will rise. The tables are turning, chosen one. What once stood against you is shifting beneath divine command. You may not see the full picture yet, but heaven has already flipped the script. The very stage where you were humiliated will soon become the platform of your honor. The same people who look down on you will have to look up to find you. God is not delaying. He is orchestrating a reversal so precise that even the timing will testify of His hand. There is a quiet symmetry in divine justice. For years, your obedience has been storing unseen favor. Every time you forgave when you could have fought, heaven recorded it. Every time you stayed silent when slander rose, heaven rewarded it. Every time you chose humility over pride, heaven multiplied your portion. The seeds you sowed in tears are now breaking through the soil of time. The harvest is not coming, it's here. But before it manifests, understand this: God's reversals are not revenge. They are revelations. They exist to demonstrate that righteousness is never wasted. You thought you lost because you took the higher road. But the higher road always leads to elevation. The crooked paths of those who mocked you are collapsing beneath their own feet. Your straight path rises like a mountain of light. You will begin to notice signs of divine shift. Doors that were sealed for years will suddenly open. People who ignored you will start to seek your presence where there was rejection. There will be an invitation. This is not luck, it is the law. God has said the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Do not be surprised when things change suddenly. What took years to break will dissolve in days. God's hand is swift when the time of completion arrives. You are walking into the era where your name will be associated with restoration, not ruin. Where your silence once confused them, your success will now clarify everything. Exodus chapter 14 verse 14 resounds. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That command was not a suggestion. It was a divine assurance. You didn't need to fight for what already had your name written in heaven's ink. You simply needed to stand still long enough for God to show Himself strong. And now the proof of that stillness is about to appear before the eyes of all who doubted you. The turning of tables often feels unsettling. When the divine wind shifts, it rearranges everything, positions, perspectives, and priorities. You may even feel overwhelmed as blessings start to arrive in abundance. But don't mistake movement for confusion. This is alignment. What once pressed down is now lifting you up. There will be divine reversals in every area. finances, relationships, opportunities. What you lost in shame will return in strength. The voices that tried to bury your influence will have no choice but to witness your emergence. This is how God vindicates His chosen, by using the same soil that was meant to bury you as the foundation of your blooming. Choseness, pause and breathe. You are not entering a new season. You are entering fulfillment. Every prophecy whispered over your life that seemed delayed is now intersecting with divine timing. The waiting wasn't wasted. It was ripening. Soon you will stand in places that once felt forbidden. You will speak in spaces where your voice was once silenced. You will walk freely where you once crawled through pain. Every humiliation becomes exaltation in the hands of the God who reverses. The very stage that witnessed your tears will echo your laughter. And when this happens, remain humble. Do not mirror the arrogance of those who wronged you. Let your elevation be your expression of gratitude, not revenge. The table turns not to humiliate others, but to reveal who was truly walking with heaven all along. Now, if this word stirs something deep inside you, if it feels like confirmation that your waiting season is ending, then comment "it's shifting" and write it as a prophetic act. Those two words carry weight. You are not merely describing your situation. You are agreeing with heaven's motion when you declare it's shifting. You're acknowledging that divine order is rearranging everything for your good. You're saying, "I accept the change. I won't resist it. I trust the turn because it is shifting." Chosen one, not slowly, not someday now. The unseen tables of justice, the conversations in heaven's courts, the favor that was withheld until the proper moment, it's all moving toward you. The divine reversal is no longer a promise. It is your portion. Stand still. Watch. The table is turning. And this time your name is at the head. The fear of the Lord is returning, chosen one, not the kind born from terror, but the kind that makes the soul tremble in awe. It's the holy reverence that makes even angels cover their faces. For too long, people have spoken lightly of sacred things. They've played with grace as if it were a toy, treating mercy like a loophole. But heaven is reintroducing Himself not as a distant comforter, but as the consuming fire that He has always been. There was a time when hearts trembled at His name, when altars burned with sincerity, and when worship meant surrender, not performance. But over time, the sacred was replaced with spectacle. People began to use God's name to gain attention, forgetting the weight that comes with uttering it. Yet now, as divine justice ripples across the earth, reverence is being restored. Heaven is reminding the world God is not to be mocked. You chosen one have carried the weight of this holy fear for a while. It's why you cannot do what others do, why you cannot stay comfortable in compromise. The Spirit within you convicts you even in small things, pulling you back from roads that lead nowhere. You carry awareness of God's nearness, and that awareness demands purity. It's not a fear that makes you hide. It's a fear that makes you bow. It teaches you that holiness is safety, not restriction. The boundaries of heaven are not cages, they are fortresses. When the fear of the Lord fills your life, peace becomes your atmosphere. You stop worrying about who is against you because you are anchored in who is above you. Proverbs chapter 9 verse 10 reveals, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." That trembling is not weakness, it's wisdom. To tremble before His word is to understand its power, to realize that one command from His mouth can rewrite the fate of nations. You, beloved, have felt this power shaping your steps. It's why you sometimes weep in prayer without knowing why. It's why your spirit becomes still when others are restless. The fear of the Lord has chosen you as its dwelling place. As this holy reverence returns to the earth, a new wave of purity will follow. Hearts will soften again. Voices that once mocked will cry out in repentance. The world will remember that every breath is borrowed, every heartbeat is mercy. The proud will bow not because they are forced, but because glory makes pride impossible. And in this hour you are called to be an instrument of that reverence. Your words, your life, your integrity, they will preach louder than any sermon. People will sense peace when they stand near you, because your spirit carries the atmosphere of awe. You won't have to convince anyone that God is real. They will feel it through you. The fear of the Lord is not only about punishment, it's about perspective. It reminds you that the one who formed galaxies still bends down to listen when you pray, that the same hand that painted sunsets also wipes your tears. It fills you with gratitude so deep that obedience becomes worship. And worship becomes lifestyle when reverence returns. Rebellion loses power, arrogance quietly fades. The world is being invited back into wonder. And you chosen one are part of heaven's gentle reminder that God is not just good, He is holy. Now as this message stirs your heart, take a moment to breathe it in. Feel the stillness that follows. Conviction, that sacred quiet that comes when heaven draws near. If these words reach you, don't let them fade like an echo. Share them like a spark. Someone out there has forgotten the beauty of holy fear. They need the reminder that awe is not oppression, but freedom. Like a lantern passed from hand to hand, each share becomes another light glowing in the night. Each like is a whisper of agreement. We remember. Each subscription is not just support. It's connection, a gathering of hearts choosing to honor what is sacred again. Let this be more than an algorithm. Let it be a movement of reverence returning to hearts that once burned bright. Together, we are rebuilding altars not of stone but of surrender. And as we do, the world will remember that the beginning of wisdom is not knowledge but awe. You are not to retaliate, chosenes, though everything in your flesh may want to strike back. Heaven whispers a deeper command. Be still. You are not called to respond as the world responds. The justice of man is quick, loud, and shallow, but the justice of God is quiet, exact, and eternal. It may seem as though silence gives power to your enemy, yet in truth, silence is your shield. Your restraint is not weakness, it is wisdom. The temptation to defend yourself is strong, especially when lies travel faster than truth. You have been slandered, ignored, and misunderstood, and there is a voice in you that screams, set the record straight. But God says, let me speak for you. The same God who parted seas and silenced lions is more than capable of dealing with those who have spoken against His anointed. The one who stays still allows heaven to move freely. This is not passivity, it is power. When you refuse to retaliate, you hand your case over to a higher court, the court of heaven, where judgment is righteous and final. You are transferring authority from your emotions to eternity, and that shift changes everything. The moment you stop fighting in the flesh, angels start fighting in the spirit. You have been learning the art of holy silence. It's not the silence of fear, it's the silence of focus. You are learning to preserve your peace rather than prove your point. You are learning that truth does not need your defense when God Himself is your advocate. Romans chapter 12 verse 19 instructs, do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. That verse is your posture in this season. It is not a call to weakness, it is an invitation to trust. Every time you choose not to respond in anger, heaven responds on your behalf. Every time you hold your tongue, you are sowing a seed that will bear the fruit of vindication. The Lord's justice does not forget. His timing may appear slow, but His reach is flawless. Chosen one, you must see the divine strategy behind stillness. When you retaliate, you descend to the level of your attacker. But when you remain calm, you rise above their reach. You cannot fight spiritual battles with emotional weapons. You win not by striking, but by standing. When you refuse to play their game, you disarm the spirit that sent them. Think of Jesus standing before His accusers, silent, steady. The Son of God, with all power in His words, chose silence because victory was already written. His stillness didn't surrender. It was supremacy. You made in His image are called to walk in that same calm authority. When God is your defender, your vindication is not subtle. It's supernatural. He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, your innocence like the noonday sun. The same mouths that slandered you will speak blessings over you without understanding why. The same hands that tried to push you down will end up lifting you. But understand this: before vindication comes discipline. God uses seasons of accusation to train your tongue and temper. He teaches you when to speak, when to wait, when to walk away. The silence you practice now is not just for survival. It's preparation for leadership. Those destined to carry crowns must first master composure. There will come a day when your silence will make sense. Those who mocked your restraint will realize it was not timidity, but trust. They will see that you weren't ignoring them. You were obeying God. Your peace will speak louder than your words ever could. Beloved, release the need to be understood. It is not your job to make others see the truth. It is God's job to reveal it. If you try to defend yourself, you might interrupt the very process designed to elevate you. Let time, truth, and God do their work. They are the most faithful advocates you could ever have. So when the urge rises to fight back, remember your silence terrifies the enemy. He feeds on reaction, but he starves in stillness. When you remain calm, you remind hell that it no longer controls your emotions. The absence of response is the presence of power. You are being trained to lead with serenity, not with noise. For soon your peace will become your proof. The calmness that confuses your critics will be the very sign that you are walking in divine authority. Heaven is your courtroom now. The verdict is already written. You win by standing still. Divine compensation has been activated, chosen one. The years that were stolen, the tears that were ignored, the efforts that seemed forgotten, heaven is recalling them all. Nothing you endured was wasted. Every silent prayer, every lonely night, every time you chose faith over fear has been added to your heavenly account. And now the time of withdrawal has come. You are stepping into a season where God will repay you in ways that won't make sense to human logic. The balance sheet of heaven is unlike the world's system. You sowed in obscurity, but you will reap in public. You gave when you had little, and now abundance will chase you. You kept forgiving when bitterness was easier, and now joy will overflow. This is not a random blessing. It is divine compensation measured and multiplied. When God compensates, He does not merely restore what was lost. He exceeds it. He does not replace, He redefines. The relationships that broke you will be replaced by ones that heal you. The opportunities that slipped through your fingers will return in better form, at a higher level, with eternal purpose attached. The Lord is not simply returning what was taken. He's ensuring that what returns cannot be stolen again. You've spent long enough in seasons where you gave without receiving, where you served without recognition, where your heart poured out while others took advantage. But heaven saw it all. Every act of kindness you offered in secret was documented. Every time you kept walking while wounded angels recorded your perseverance. Those unseen sacrifices are now crying out before the throne. And God is responding. Joel chapter 2 verse 25 promises, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the great locust and the young locust, the other locusts and the locust swarm, my great army that I sent among you." Those words are a decree, not a metaphor. Restoration is not coming. It has already begun. You may not see it yet, but divine order is working behind closed doors. Documents are being signed. Hearts are being softened. Paths are being aligned. Compensation begins in the unseen long before it manifests in the physical. Chosen one, your endurance was an investment. Heaven never loses track of what belongs to you. The people who took advantage of your humility thought they won, but they only positioned you for an increase. Every betrayal made room for a better blessing. Every rejection cleared space for divine replacement. You are about to witness an avalanche of favor, not because you chased it, but because it has been chasing you. You will walk into rooms that once excluded you. Find that your name was already written on the seat. The very places where you were ignored will now honor you. What was withheld is about to be released, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. But take heed. This is not the time for pride. When divine compensation arrives, gratitude not gloating, you must carry it with humility. For the purpose of blessing is not to boast, but to bear witness. You are not being rewarded simply for surviving. You are being equipped for an assignment. Every resource, every connection, every opportunity will serve a greater calling. The Lord is not just restoring what was stolen from you. He is restoring who you were before the loss, your laughter, your confidence, your peace. Those too are part of His compensation package. The light that dimmed within you will burn brighter than before. You will look in the mirror soon and see not a survivor, but a vessel overflowing with new oil. And when you begin to receive, remember how long you waited. Remember that it was faith, not favor, that carried you here. For the reward is not only in what God gives you, but in who you became while you waited. If you feel this word vibrating in your spirit, if something in you whispers, "This is my season," then write 777 in the comments below. Do it as a prophetic declaration. 4 nines, the symbol of divine completion. The end of sorrow and the fullness of promise. As you write it, you are not just typing numbers, you are aligning with heaven's decree that restoration has reached its final stage. The waiting is over. The years that were eaten will be repaid. The barren places are about to bloom again. Say it with faith as you write, "I receive divine compensation," because what's coming will not only make up for what you lost, it will make you forget you ever lacked. The prophets were right, chosen one. Every word that once sounded impossible is now beginning to unfold before your eyes. The visions you once tucked away as distant promises are rising like the dawn, clear, unstoppable, and radiant. What was spoken in whispers is becoming reality, and what once required faith will soon be seen. For years you wrestled with doubt. You questioned whether the promises over your life were just emotional moments or divine truth. When the waiting grew long, you wondered if you had heard wrong, if the prophecies spoken over you were meant for someone else. But heaven never misspeaks. Every word released from God's mouth is attached to an appointed time, and that time has found you. Prophecy is like a seed buried unseen yet alive. It doesn't die in the soil of delay. It germinates there. You thought your promise was lost, but it was simply developing roots. The deeper the root, the stronger the harvest. And now, that hidden growth is breaking through the surface. You are witnessing the fulfillment of what was once invisible. You must understand this sacred truth. Prophecy is not prediction. It is pre-written history. When God speaks, He is not guessing your future. He is revealing what He already designed. The gap between His word and its manifestation is not a question of if, but of when. Every delay is divine calibration. Every detour ensures that when you arrive, you are prepared for what was promised. You are now entering the fulfillment zone where preparation meets prophecy. The storms you endured did not cancel the promise. They conditioned you for it. What you learned in loss, what you gained through grief, what you mastered in silence, all of it positioned you perfectly for manifestation. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 11 guarantees, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." Those words are heaven's guarantee that what God said cannot fail. His words are not fragile. It cannot expire or be erased by human interference. Even when circumstances seem contrary, His decree continues to advance silently, reshaping reality until it aligns with His will. Think of Joseph. The dreams he carried looked like distant fantasies when he was thrown into the pit and the prison. Yet every step, even the painful ones, was a prophecy unfolding. His betrayal became the bridge to his destiny. What looked like chaos was divine choreography. The same pattern is woven into your life, chosen one. What broke you was building you. What delayed you was directing you. This is why you could never give up. Even when you tried, the word of the Lord inside you kept pulling you forward. Even when logic told you to stop, you carried prophecy in your bones. And prophecy cannot die before completion. You are sustained not by circumstance, but by divine memory, God remembering His word over you. And now the proof begins to appear. Doors open without explanation. Connections form that make no sense except in light of what was spoken. People who never knew your story are drawn to your purpose. It is not a coincidence. It is convergence. All things are meeting at the intersection of fulfillment. Do not rush this moment. Prophecy does not explode. It unfolds like sunrise. It rises gradually, revealing more as you stay faithful. The light will get brighter each day until the full picture appears. Trust the rhythm of revelation. God reveals not all at once, but as much as your heart can handle. And remember, the manifestation of prophecy is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of responsibility. When the word comes to pass, it is your turn to steward it. Fulfillment is not for your comfort, it's for your calling. God fulfills His word, not to crown you with ease, but to equip you for impact. Soon the same mouths that doubted you will bear witness. They will say, everything they said about you is happening. But you will not boast. You will bow, for you'll know that nothing happened because of your strength, but because of His faithfulness. So stay grounded in gratitude. Let humility anchor you as elevation arrives. The prophets were not exaggerating. They were echoing eternity. And now, eternity is echoing back through your life. You are living prophecy-breathing proof that no word from God ever fails. Crowned through the chaos, chosen one, that is what you are. The crown did not appear on a calm morning. It was forged in the fire of your fiercest battles. You did not receive it in a palace. You received it in a wilderness. You were not anointed in peace. You were anointed in pain. The chaos that once threatened to crush you has become the very tool God used to shape your authority. Every crown heaven gives must first be molded through pressure. You cannot wear glory without carrying weight. Every betrayal, every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, all of it pressed against your spirit, sculpting you into someone who could carry divine responsibility. You thought you were breaking, but you were being built. Every crack let light in until your heart began to shine with wisdom that only pain can teach. There were moments when you whispered, God, this is too much. You thought He had abandoned you in the ruins. Yet even then, He was near closer than breath. He was not absent. He was refining you in the hidden furnace of transformation. Crowns are not handed to the comfortable. They are born in those who learn to praise while bleeding. Chaos has a purpose. It separates the fragile from the faithful. It reveals what is fake and strengthens what is true. You endured storms that others didn't survive, not because you were stronger, but because your destiny demanded durability. God knew that if He was going to place a crown upon your head, He first had to build the neck strong enough to hold it. Your crown is not made of gold. It's made of endurance, patience, and purity. Every tear was a gem. Every scar was a seal. Every act of forgiveness added another jewel to the diadem. Heaven was preparing for you. The world saw your suffering, but heaven saw your coronation in progress. James chapter 1 verse 12 blesses, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him." And that is your testimony. You stood the test. You did not let bitterness turn your heart cold. You did not let betrayal poison your faith. You kept believing when nothing made sense. That faithfulness has been noticed in heaven. The crown you now wear is invisible to the eyes of man, but visible to every spirit that tried to destroy you. It is the mark of the overcomer. Do not despise the chaos that birthed your crown. You needed it. Without it, you would not have discovered the strength hidden within you. Without the storms, you would never have learned to walk on waves. Without the night, you would not have recognized the dawn. The chaos was your classroom. The crown is your graduation. Now you carry a different kind of authority, quiet, weighty, and unshakable. You no longer seek validation because pain already purified your motives. You no longer fear rejection because rejection taught you that divine acceptance is enough. You have been through too much to be swayed by the opinions of those who weren't there when you broke. Your peace now intimidates what once tormented you. Your composure confuses your enemies because they cannot understand how you survived. But survival was never your goal. Transformation was. You are not the same person who entered the chaos. Something in you has evolved, matured, transcended. You no longer react. You discern. You no longer chase, you attract. The crown upon your life signifies completion of a cycle. What once wounded you now worships God through you. What once felt like an ending was actually an anointing. You are not carrying memories of misery, you are carrying evidence of mercy. Every time you smile, it's proof that pain is lost. Every time you speak about life, it's evidence that darkness failed. And now, heaven watches as you walk among people still in their own chaos, not to boast, but to guide. Your scars have become maps for those still lost in storms. You are a living reminder that nothing surrendered to God is wasted. You can look someone in the eye and say, "I've been there, but look at me now," not out of pride, but out of gratitude. Chaos tried to crown you with despair, but God replaced it with destiny. You are walking proof that beauty rises from ashes, that crowns can grow from craters, and that storms can sculpt saints. You are not just surviving, you are reigning. And every breath you take now whispers one truth into the atmosphere. The chaos crowned me, and I am not the same. There is a stirring across the earth, chosen one, a trembling in the spirit that the world cannot explain. It is not an earthquake, it is an awakening. The marked ones scattered across nations are rising at the same time, as if a divine trumpet has sounded within their souls. What you are feeling is not personal, it is prophetic. Heaven is calling the chosen out of hiding, gathering them like embers to form one consuming fire. You are part of that rising. You felt the shift, the restlessness, the strange anticipation, the holy pull to step forward. It's not imagination, it's an invitation, for the era of silence is ending. The same ones who are overlooked are being anointed for global impact. Every hidden voice is being amplified, every broken vessel refilled. This is not a coincidence. It is convergence. There is a reason you could never blend in. You were born to stand out in a generation that has forgotten what light looks like. The world is heavy with confusion, and yet the Spirit is whispering, "Arise, shine, for your light has come." The chosen are awakening not with pride, but with purpose. They know that crowns are not for comfort, but for calling. This awakening is not loud, it's luminous. It spreads like sunrise, quietly but irresistibly. One heart catches fire, and another lights beside it. One testimony sparks 10 more. What you carry is contagious. Your obedience becomes oxygen for others gasping for faith. Romans chapter 8, verse 19 observes, "For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed." You might think, "But who am I to carry something so great?" Yet heaven answers, "You are exactly who I chose." You were not selected because of perfection, but because of surrender. God doesn't crown the qualified. He qualifies for the crown. Everything you've endured has prepared you to stand now not as a victim of circumstance, but as a vessel of power. You are part of a remnant, a scattered army of hearts burning with holiness, walking through cities, workplaces, and nations as silent flames. You may not even realize the impact you have, but every time you choose kindness, speak truth, or refuse compromise, light spreads through you like wildfire. This is how revival begins, not in crowds, but in quiet acts of courage. The awakening of the chosen is heaven's response to earth's chaos. For every deception, there will be a messenger of truth. For every wound, a healer. For every dark corner, a light bearer. And you chosen ones are one of them. You've been through fire, not to hide your glow, but to make it visible in the darkest hour. So stand firm. The world will look different through your eyes now. You will sense spiritual hunger where others see hopelessness. You will feel divine assignments hidden in ordinary moments. You will find yourself being guided into conversations that heal, atmospheres that shift, and encounters that ignite. You are no longer just living. You are leading even when you don't mean to. And as this truth sinks into your spirit, I ask one small thing. Don't keep it to yourself, just as a single candle loses nothing by lighting another. You lose nothing by sharing light. When you like, when you share, when you comment, you're not promoting a message. You're planting a seed. Somewhere, someone drowning in silence will stumble upon your echo of this word. And remember who they are. Let your engagement be your ministry. Let your comment be your confession of faith. Write something simple yet powerful below your yes to heaven's call. When you do, you join a chain of voices saying, "We hear you, Lord." That unity moves mountains, the way wind moves waves. And if you haven't yet, stay connected. Subscribe not as a follower, but as a flame in this growing fire. Together, we are not building a platform. We are building an altar. Each view, each word shared, each act of agreement adds another stone. For revival does not begin with noise. It begins with hearts that remember. It begins with one chosen one saying, "I'm ready." Then another, then thousands, until the whole world trembles, not from fear, but from awe. So share this as you would share a lantern in a storm, knowing someone out there is waiting for the light you carry. Let your presence online be prophetic. Let your engagement be eternal. Because this isn't just content, it's confirmation. The awakening is now, and you are part of it. God finishes what he starts, chosen one that is a truth you must let sink deep into your bones. He does not abandon what he creates. He does not draft a destiny only to discard it halfway. Every promise he made to you, spoken in whispers, confirmed through tears, tested through fire, will be completed. Heaven does not deal in unfinished works. For so long it felt like you were suspended between beginnings and endings, like you were standing in a hallway full of closed doors. You prayed, you waited, you obeyed, and yet progress seemed painfully slow. You began to wonder if perhaps God had changed his mind about you, but the truth is, he never stopped working. He was finishing in silence what you could not yet see in sight. There is a rhythm to God's fulfillment. He builds slowly, but he builds strong. Every delay was not denial. It was designed. While you were anxious about the outcome, heaven was perfecting the foundation. The things you thought were being postponed were actually being polished. When God finishes something, it must bear his fingerprint, perfect, pure, and permanent. You are now entering the season of completion. Loose ends are tying themselves together. Conversations that once confused you are now making sense. People who once walked away are being replaced by those who carry purpose. Even the memories that haunted you are being rewritten in light of redemption. The same hand that started your story is turning the final pages with intention and grace. Philippians chapter 1 verse 6 assures, "Being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." Those words are not theory. They are covenant. You are the living canvas of that promise. Every unfinished chapter in your life is now being completed by a divine pen. God is closing cycles that are draining you, finishing lessons that once repeated endlessly, and sealing wounds that no longer need to bleed. What was fragmented is being made whole. Completion is not just about achieving goals, it's about alignment. You are coming into harmony with what heaven always saw in you. The doubts that once battled your mind are quieting because truth is replacing fear. You are realizing that every hardship, every detour, every delay was never wasted. It was weaving together a tapestry too complex for you to see from the underside. Now, God is turning it over, revealing the pattern. There is peace in divine completion. It's not the excitement of new beginnings, nor the chaos of the middle. It's the quiet satisfaction of seeing purpose fulfilled. You will feel it soon, the deep exhale of your soul, when you recognize that what once broke you has now built you, that what once seemed meaningless now fits perfectly in the story. And when God finishes his work, he doesn't just stop. He sanctifies. He blesses what he completes. You will notice a divine stillness in your life, not emptiness, but fulfillment. You will stop striving because striving is for those still building. You will rest, not because you've given up, but because the work is done. Completion also means closure. God is ending relationship cycles and seasons that no longer serve your growth. It may hurt to let go, but endings are proof of progress. What you release now makes space for what's next. You cannot enter a new promise carrying the weight of old pain. Heaven is gently taking the past from your hands, so you can receive the future freely. You will soon stand in the place of completion. Understand why everything had to happen the way it did. You'll see that every unanswered prayer was a preparation for something greater. You'll look back and whisper, "He really did finish it." And do not fear the quiet that follows completion. After great storms, even the sea must rest. Let the stillness settle. Let the Spirit pour peace over you like oil over wounds that have finally healed. This stillness is not stagnation. It's the sound of finality, the sound of heaven saying, "It is done." And you are about to live in the manifestation of every word spoken over your life, not in fragments, but in fullness. The loose threads of your story are being woven into a masterpiece that only a perfect author could create. He started it with love, sustained it with grace, and he will finish it with glory. So breathe deeply, chosen. You've reached the chapter where heaven rests its brush, steps back and smiles at what it has made. The painting is complete, the promise fulfilled, the work perfected. God finishes what he starts, and now he is finishing you. Glory after the fire, chosen one, that is the chapter you have entered. The smoke has cleared. The storms have passed. Now you stand in the quiet aftermath of divine victory. What once felt like endless warfare has become a field of peace. The ground that trembled beneath your tears is now fertile with purpose. The same hands that broke you have been redeemed to bless you. You are no longer surviving. You are shining. You will notice that the world feels different now. The colors are brighter, not because creation has changed, but because your eyes have. The fire burned away the haze of fear, pride, and pain. And now you see through purity. You no longer view life as punishment, but as a partnership with heaven. The same Spirit that sustained you in the valley now guides you on the mountain. You are walking proof that what tried to destroy you has only refined you. The season of weeping is over. The time of vindication has come. The names that once mocked you are silent, and the voices that once condemned you now watch in awe. And know that your God is real. Psalm 30, verse 5 sings, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Do not hide your scars, chosen ones. They are sacred signatures of survival. They tell the truth about where you've been and testify about who carried you through it. They remind the world that faith does not make life painless, it makes it possible. When people see you, they see the evidence of endurance. You are not just a testimony, you are a torch. This new season carries a strange peace, not the fragile calm that comes from comfort, but the unshakable serenity that follows surrender. You no longer strive for control because you've seen what happens when God takes the pen. You no longer fear endings because you've lived through resurrection. You no longer need validation because heaven's approval has already been stamped upon your name. Every part of you that once trembled is now anchored. You've learned that power is not in noise but in stillness. You have learned that strength is not in resistance but in trust. And now, from this place of holy calm, God will release you into entirely new territories, not as a wounded warrior limping from the battlefield, but as a crowned conqueror radiating unshakable victory and authority. Your arduous journey through the intense fires of trial was never intended for your ultimate destruction or defeat. Instead, it served as a powerful demonstration of God's unwavering power and love. Heaven deliberately orchestrated every moment to vividly illustrate to the entire world what true redemption truly looks like when embodied in a human life transformed by divine grace. When others witness you thriving with renewed vitality, extending forgiveness without hesitation, and loving others once again with an open heart, they will undeniably recognize that divine restoration is not just a concept, but a living reality. You stand as living proof that grace ultimately triumphs over every form of brokenness and adversity. In the near future, you will discover yourself confidently stepping into spaces and environments that previously rejected you outright, leaving you feeling excluded and unworthy. Doors that were once firmly shut against you, slamming with finality, will now swing open effortlessly and welcomingly, as if they were always meant to receive you. And the very atmosphere in those places will dramatically shift the moment you enter. Not because you forcefully demand respect or attention from anyone around you, but simply because your presence naturally exudes a profound sense of peace that calms storms and soothes troubled souls. You will no longer find it necessary to struggle or fight desperately for acknowledgement or validation from others. Instead, glory itself will herald your arrival long before you even utter a single word. The radiant aura surrounding your life will become so evident and compelling that no one can deny its authenticity or power. But alongside this extraordinary glory must come a deep sense of humility that keeps you grounded. Remember, chosen one that crowns are never designed merely for personal comfort or self-indulgence. They exist primarily for a higher calling to signify responsibility and purpose in service to something greater. The brilliant light you now carry within you is not meant for mere self-display or ego-driven showcasing. Rather, it is intended for divine direction, guiding lost souls toward truth and hope. You shine brightly so that others wandering in confusion and darkness can finally find their way back home to the Father's embrace. Your ultimate purpose has never revolved around seeking applause or admiration from the crowds. From the very beginning, it has always been about achieving perfect alignment with the beating heart of heaven itself. Therefore, walk gently and intentionally through this fresh new dawn that is breaking in your life. Speak every word with abundant grace that reflects God's kindness. Move forward with profound wisdom that comes from lessons learned in the crucible. Allow your entire life to become a beautiful symphony, singing the quiet yet powerful song of redemption. A melody that resonates deeply, proclaiming to the world that God restores broken lives with masterful precision and tender care. You are far from reaching the end of your personal story. In fact, you are standing right at the thrilling beginning of an era defined by glory and divine favor. And when you eventually look back over the path you've traveled, do so without a trace of regret clouding your heart. Every deep valley you endured, every scorching flame that tested your faith, every painful wound that scarred your soul, all of it has meticulously brought you to this exact point of breakthrough and elevation. You could not possibly be the radiant vessel of light you are today, if not for the enveloping darkness that once threatened to overwhelm you completely. The intense pain you experienced was an integral part of the divine preparation process, refining your character like gold in a furnace. The refining fire was essential to your formation, shaping you into a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. And now the overflowing glory is the natural culmination and fulfillment of all that God promised. Lift your head high with confidence, chosen ones. The fierce fire has finally passed, yet its transformative light continues to burn brightly within the core of your being. You carry heaven's perfect reflection with you wherever your feet may tread, mirroring God's glory in your daily actions and interactions. You have miraculously become the very answer to the desperate prayers you once cried out in your moments of deepest need. Irrefutable proof that God finishes every good work. He starts with flawless perfection, restores shattered lives with absolute completeness, and glorifies His children with boundless fullness. The long night of suffering and uncertainty has finally surrendered its grip. The glorious dawn has broken through and spoken with authority over your future. And the magnificent glory that emerges in the aftermath of the fire will never diminish or fade away, no matter what challenges lie ahead. And now, below our chosen one, we find ourselves standing together at what feels like the conclusion of this particular journey. But make no mistake, this is far from the end of the overarching message God is weaving through your life. Every single word you have heard in this moment, every vivid image painted across your imagination, every verse whispered gently into the depths of your heart was carefully crafted and divinely inspired to serve as a constant reminder. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5 states that heaven still speaks with clarity and purpose, still fights relentlessly on behalf of its beloved, and still faithfully finishes every promise it begins without fail. You have courageously walked through seasons of divine wrath and judgment, through blazing fires of purification, through earth-shaking trials and prolonged periods of silence where God seemed distant. And yet against all odds here you stand today, glorious in your victory, unbroken in your spirit, and crowned with honor by the King himself. If these powerful words have truly found a secure and welcoming home deep within your spirit, do not allow them to simply fade away into the overwhelming noise and distractions of yet another ordinary day. Carry them close to your heart like a treasured possession. Share them freely with those around you who need encouragement. Let them echo powerfully through your inner circle of friends and family, through your social media timeline, and through the lives of countless individuals who may have forgotten that a brilliant light still burns fiercely beyond the darkest night. Each time you choose to click that share button, you are doing far more than just disseminating a simple message across the digital landscape. You are actively releasing a divine spark of hope and inspiration directly into someone else's overwhelming darkness, igniting faith where despair once reigned. Your thoughtful comment is so much more than mere feedback or casual opinion. It represents genuine fellowship in the body of Christ. It is your bold way of declaring to the world, I am fully part of this unstoppable movement of light and truth. So take a moment to write exactly what stirs within you, something raw and honest, something profoundly true that reflects your personal encounter with God. Let heaven itself hear your heartfelt agreement, resonating through the words you type. And if your soul is yearning for even more unfiltered truth that pierces the soul, more consuming fire that refines and empowers, more gentle reminders that your unique story is inherently holy and set apart, then commit to staying connected without hesitation. Subscribe not out of mindless habit or routine obligation, but out of a genuine, insatiable hunger for deeper intimacy with God. Allow this sacred space to remain a true sanctuary for your weary spirit, a reliable refuge in times of storm, a steady, unquenchable flame that consistently reminds you of your true identity in Christ, especially when the chaotic world around you attempts to strip it away and make you forget your royal heritage. This transformative message does not reach its conclusion here on this page or at this moment. Instead, it lives on and continues dynamically through you and your obedience. You have now become the living echo of God's voice, the chosen vessel for His glory, the undeniable living proof of His faithfulness. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 21 confirms that God's chosen ones never fall into oblivion unnoticed by the Almighty, never rise to their destined places without His supernatural aid, and never shine with purpose in vain or without eternal impact. So go ahead, share this message widely. Leave a comment that builds up the faith of others. Stay engaged and committed, and let the radiant light of redemption keep spreading organically, one chosen one at a time, until the whole earth is filled with the knowledge of His glory.